Hello, my name is Rachel, and I love chain and scale mail. And I thought I would try something a little different today. I'm going to try what will hopefully be the first in a series of tutorials. And I thought I would start with something simple. Today we're just going to do some vinyl wrapping of scales. And the reason we would do that is so we can take just a plain, boring silver scale and we can make something really unique. Like I have this green holographic here, this blue with a pink glitter shift, and this black leather textured. Those are the three that we're going to work on today. And let me show you all of our supplies that we're going to need. Of course, we're going to need a bunch of these plain silver scales. We're going to need some vinyl wraps, and these vinyl wraps are designed for wrapping cars, which is why they're perfect for the aluminum scales, because on a car in the outside, they're supposed to last 5 to 7 years. So on these little metal scales that you're probably not going to be out in the elements in very often, they should last a really long time. And I get most of my vinyls off of Amazon. Sometimes I do order directly from Vivid, which is a company that does most of the vinyls that I have, but there have been a couple other companies from Amazon that I've ordered from. But always be sure to read the reviews, because not all of these car vinyls are equal. You want one that becomes malleable when you heat it up so that you can stretch it around the curves and it has better adhesion. I did buy one really pretty one once that just did not work well at all. It just, no matter how much heat I applied, it would just not stretch and it just wouldn't adhere properly. So, and it was really sad because it was such a pretty vinyl. But so it definitely needs some vinyls. I use a paper cutter because I cut them at my strips into 1.5 inches, because my scales are, I believe, an inch, maybe just over an inch top to bottom. Of course, need a cutting mat, a very sharp X-Acto blade, and some alcohol to clean off the scales before applying the vinyl. And I almost forgot to mention, you're also going to need a hair dryer. So I'm going to change the angle. Since I film everything on my phone, I'm going to have to figure out how to flip my phone around so you can get an angle of just my work surface, and I'll show you my steps for creating these fun scales. So my first step is just going to be taking some rubbing alcohol and cleaning my silver aluminum scales. My second step is taking my paper cutter and one of my rolls of vinyl, and cutting some strips that are 1.5 inches. And some of the vinyls, like this one here, does have a plastic coating that you do peel off. And now I have a bunch of strips of vinyl. Now that the prep work is done, we can start. I'm going to take one of my strips of vinyl and one of my silver scales, and I just cut a little piece off the size of the scale. And then we just peel off the backing. And make sure the scale is completely covered. Flip it over and I stick it down a little bit because next I get the hair dryer. And I have the hair dryer on high, and I'm just going to heat that up for a few seconds. And you know it's properly heated if it has a good stretch to it. You can see how that's stretching over the edges. Actually, you couldn't see the stretch. I got out of frame, but let me try again. Try to make sure I stay in frame. And see how it stretches down around our edges. And then I put it back down on my mat and just use my fingers to squeegee out any air bubbles. And then I put that to the side because I like to let them cool before I trim them, and start another one. Now that I've wrapped all 3 of my scales, I can trim them. I just flip it over to the back side, hold it down, and get as close to the edge as possible. Smooth the edges again and trim out the hole in the center. And then check for any extra that needs to be trimmed off. And there we have a super pretty holographic scale. I don't know if the pink glitter is picking up under the lighting with this one. And that's all there is to it. So that's all there is to vinyl covering our aluminum scales to get the cool finishes. It's not hard, but as you can see, it's very time consuming, and that's why it can take me 5 times longer to cover enough scales to make a project than it takes for me to make the project. Like, it can take me several days to cover hundreds of scales, which I need to make one of these tops behind me. But the payoff is so worth it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know in the comments below what you think of this, and if you have any suggestions of how I can improve this type of videos. And I do hope to create new tutorials for you in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
I've been a caged bird with all the right words, but no heart to breathe into. Caught like an exhale while the months sail, and the years became nothing too. I hurt myself bad, trying to be glad for the future I was heading to. I let it all in, and I let nothing